check.
Good evening and welcome back to a joint meeting of the Burbank City Council with the Housing Authority on Tuesday, December 9th, 2025. Today's study session item is an update on the Wayfinding Kiosk Pilot Program. I welcome Ms. Courtney Paget, Assistant City Manager, to begin the presentation. Welcome, Ms. Paget.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council members. Courtney Paget with the City Manager's Office. This afternoon, I am here to provide an update on the city's proposed Wayfinding Kiosk Program. This study session is intended to provide Council with a high-level overview of the program elements, the regulatory framework required to support it, the recommended procurement process, future community outreach, and next steps. Later this evening, you will be presented with a related item introducing a proposed ordinance with amendments to the Burbank Municipal Code, which I will also briefly address as part of this study session. At the July 15th, 2025 City Council meeting, Council received a first step report in response to a request from Councilmember Mullins on the potential implementation of wayfinding kiosk in the city. This request was in response to a proposal received by the city from Ike Smart City, a national company that develops and operates wayfinding kiosk. Wayfinding kiosks are interactive digital displays installed in the public right-of-way to serve residents and visitors by providing easy access to community information. Their primary purposes include providing real-time information on city services, community events, emergency alerts, and public transportation, along with other resources that support community-focused information, public awareness, and public safety. Supporting the local economy by highlighting businesses, dining options, and hotels. Enhancing the pedestrian experience through offering maps, walking directions, and access to the Our Burbank 311 service for request and city information. And allowing for controlled commercial advertising consistent with the terms of a city-approved agreement. Many cities across the country have implemented similar programs to enhance public access to information and strengthen community engagement. I would like to note that, per Council's request at the July 15th meeting, a demonstration kiosk has been placed downstairs in the City Hall Rotunda this evening to allow Council and community members an opportunity to review the unit, interact with its features, and gain a firsthand understanding of the kiosk functions and capabilities. Following the July 15th discussion, Council directed staff to evaluate the feasibility of implementing a wayfinding kiosk program in Burbank. In order to proceed with the program, regulatory changes are required to allow kiosks in the public right-of-way. Under the existing municipal code, the self-illuminating and electronic signs are currently prohibited. To enable the kiosk program to move forward, amendments to the Burbank Municipal Code are necessary. Later this evening, Council will consider the introduction of an ordinance that amends the municipal code to facilitate the installation and operation of kiosks. The proposed changes accomplish two main objectives. The first objective is to create a new article within the Streets chapter of the municipal code specifically dedicated to wayfinding kiosk. The new article defines wayfinding kiosk, establishes objective operational and design standards, regulates lighting and audio, and outlines permitting and enforcement procedures. The second objective focuses on updating existing sections of the code to ensure consistency with a new kiosk program. These amendments clarify that kiosks are exempt from general sign prohibitions and aligns encroachment permit requirements with kiosk installations. These amendments have been reviewed to ensure consistency with the city's general plan, appropriate distances from residential areas, and to address any environmental considerations. These amendments create the regulatory framework necessary to ensure that a program can be implemented safely, consistently, and in alignment with city standards. Should the proposed amendments to the BMC be approved by Council, the next step would be consideration of an agreement with a kiosk operator, and a proposed program would begin with the installation of approximately 15 wayfinding kiosks strategically located in high pedestrian areas throughout the city. These locations will be intended to maximize visibility, accessibility, and community impact. Potential locations include downtown, along San Fernando Boulevard, near the Burbank Town Center and near the Metrolink station, the Media District near major studios and office complexes, in the Civic Center area near City Hall and the Central Library, and near the Hollywood Burbank Airport. Once an agreement with a kiosk operator is approved by Council, specific kiosk locations will be determined through a collaborative process by the city and the selected vendor. The process will consider factors such as pedestrian activity, proximity to commercial destinations, equitable geographic distribution throughout the city, ADA and code compliance, and technical feasibility such as access to power. Locations will undergo a multi-step evaluation, including preliminary identification, field assessments, power confirmation, walkthroughs with city departments to ensure safety, alignment with program objectives, and optimal community benefit. Specific kiosk locations have not yet been determined, and no locations can or will be determined until an operating agreement is approved by Council. To be considered, the kiosk program would be offered at no cost to the city, with the vendor responsible for all associated costs, including installation, operation, and maintenance. In addition, the city would have the opportunity to receive a share of advertising revenue generated through the kiosk and receive a minimum annual guarantee per kiosk. The kiosk would also include a dedicated percentage of screen time reserved for city use, allowing the city to display service and event information, public service announcements, and other community-focused messaging. Specific revenue-sharing terms, content allocations, and financial projections will be further defined during contract negotiations. Advertising displayed on the kiosk would be coordinated with the city in accordance with an approved agreement to ensure consistency with community standards and aesthetics. This includes reviewing advertising categories, content types, and materials to ensure alignment with city values. Advertising restrictions would include prohibitions on tobacco and vaping products, firearms or ammunition, political advertising, and lewd or obscene material. After installation, the city will monitor and evaluate the program and consider future program expansion accordingly. As this program would be structured as a no-cost revenue-sharing agreement, city procurement processes allow for direct negotiations with a provider rather than a formal competitive bid. Staff evaluated several procurement options, including issuing a new request for proposals, also known as an RFP, joining a cooperative procurement, or using a piggyback agreement based on another jurisdiction's competitive process. After reviewing these options, based on the evaluation of kiosk procurement processes conducted in other cities, the robust functionality offered by the Ike kiosk, and to ensure the project advances in accordance with council's direction, staff recommend proceeding with direct negotiations with a vendor. This approach provides the greatest flexibility to tailor the agreement specifically to Burbank's needs, including public safety requirements, location considerations, technical specifications, revenue sharing provisions, maintenance standards, content expectations, and community engagement components. It also allows the city to incorporate lessons learned from staff's research into other jurisdictions and ensure that the resulting agreement reflects council's priorities. Direct negotiation also offers the strongest ability to define performance expectations, secure additional public benefits, and ensure compatibility with Burbank's infrastructure. By comparison, piggyback agreements limit the city's ability to modify or customize terms or negotiate city-specific requirements. If the council supports this procurement direction, staff will begin negotiations with the recommended vendor and return with a proposed agreement for council consideration. Ike Smart City is recommended based on extensive experience, track record in other jurisdictions, and ability to deliver a turnkey program. Ike currently works with 24 cities nationwide, including Atlanta, Berkeley, Denver, Houston, Raleigh, and San Diego, and has a recently approved agreement with Culver City. These partnerships demonstrate the company's capacity to work with different kinds of cities and in different types of urban environments, adapt to local needs, and build relationships with different types of municipal governments. In addition to its national footprint, Ike Smart City offers a comprehensive platform that integrates public safety tools, accessibility features, customizable content, and dedicated maintenance. The kiosks offer a robust interactive suite of applications organized on an easy-to-use app dashboard. All applications are developed in partnership with the city and can be tailored to meet our specific community needs. This includes full multilingual capability, 100% ADA compliance, and features that support blind and low vision users, providing a fully accessible experience for all individuals. From a public safety standpoint, the kiosks are directly integrated with the Federal Integrated Public Alert and Warning System, IPAWS. This connection allows the kiosk to display emergency notifications in real time, ensuring that critical information reaches the public as quickly as possible. In regard to privacy, Ike Smart City does not sell any user content and only collects certain types of information provided by users with their consent. The Ike system also includes a proactive base maintenance model with dedicated teams within the local jurisdiction who inspect each kiosk a minimum of 5 times per week, including at least one weekend day. These teams ensure that the kiosks remain clean, free of graffiti or markings, and in optimal working condition. If a kiosk experiences significant damage, the area is secured and reported immediately, with repairs typically completed within 24 to 48 hours to minimize disruption and maintain a high-quality appearance. In addition to their informational and safety functions, the kiosks also offer opportunities to showcase the work of local artists, promotional opportunities for local nonprofit organizations, and opportunities to brand non-screen portions of the kiosk specifically to the city. Should the program progress, the city will conduct a community outreach effort focused on public education to clearly communicate the purpose, benefits, and functionality of the kiosk. Outreach will highlight how the kiosk enhance access to city services, provide real-time information, support local businesses, and improve the pedestrian experience. Outreach strategies may include an informational webpage on the city website to serve as a central hub of information about the program, social media content, a press release announcement about the program distributed to local and regional media outlets, engagement with neighborhood organizations, community groups, and business associations, such as the Burbank Chamber of Commerce, the Downtown Property-Based Improvement District, the Tourism-Based Improvement District, and the Magnolia Park Merchants Association. Briefings with stakeholders, such as local businesses, service providers, and community partners through newsletters and other forms of communication, and frequently asked question sheets, instructional materials, and how-to videos created in coordination with the kiosk vendor. This outreach will emphasize kiosk functionality, privacy protections, accessibility features, and available community resources. If council supports the direction outlined in this update, the next steps for the program are introduction of the ordinance with the necessary amendments to municipal code later this evening as part of the regular meeting. If introduced, the proposed ordinance will return for a second reading at the next scheduled regular meeting of the City Council on December 16th, 2025. Staff will proceed with the procurement process, including negotiating an agreement and returning to council for consideration and approval. Following approval of an agreement, staff will work with the selected vendor on location identification, installation coordination, and compliance with design and operational standards. The intention of this study session is to provide council with an update on the progress of the program and ensure that the proposed approach continues to align with council's prior direction on the development of a kiosk program. This includes supporting the city's economic development goals and providing a contemporary tool to enhance communication, wayfinding, and access to city services, which could provide significant value as the city prepares for upcoming regional events, including the Super Bowl in 2027 and the Olympics in 2028. Staff is not requesting a specific direction from council at this time, but welcome any feedback or guidance regarding the program's progress and direction. Please note that specific details regarding kiosk locations and certain technical specifications and operational components are not available this evening. These elements will be evaluated during contract negotiations with the vendor and, where appropriate, refined through post-contract discussions as part of the implementation process. City staff from various departments are available to answer any questions. Additionally, representatives from Ike Smart City are also present and available to answer any questions regarding the kiosk features, functionality, and technical capabilities. This concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Paget. Appreciate it. And thank you, Vice Mayor, for starting the meeting. My pumping schedule is just not aligning with the council meetings. What are you going to do? But thank you all for bearing with me. All right. So now that we've had our presentation, this is a study session. So since we already took public comment before this began, I know there's some folks in the audience. I do just want to say for your consideration, if you would like to speak on this item or you have thoughts, questions, we do have, as Ms. Paget mentioned, an agenda item later on where you can go ahead and submit a comment card for that discussion. It's a related item, so that would be the time to do so. At this time, we're now going to go ahead and ask questions of staff as a council, and then we will go into, well, questions and just discussion, then move on from there. But what I do want to say is, can I ask our colleagues to ask all our questions about this item now during the study session when we have ample time to look at it versus the item? So get your questions out of the way now so that when the item comes, we can have a robust discussion and deliberation. Does that sound good? Okay, great. So who would like to go first? Oh man, not all at once. Councilor Anthony.
Thank you. I guess the obvious question everybody has been asking me about is the cost. The cost. Explain why and how this becomes revenue neutral, even to the point where we may even see some generation come back to us.
Yeah, so this is considered a no-cost revenue sharing agreement. So there is no cost incurred by the city. So the vendor would they cover all costs. So the expenses for the installation, operation, and maintenance of the kiosk are fully incurred by the vendor. Revenue is generated through the commercial advertising that comes to the vendor through the kiosk, and a certain percentage of that revenue generation would be offered back to the city as a revenue sharing opportunity.
Okay, great. So no upfront cost.
No upfront cost.
Okay, I like that.
Or ongoing cost.
Sure, or ongoing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is that your only question?
That's it.
Okay. And the only other thing I want to remind folks, as I forgot in my handy dandy script, is a reminder that we don't have a lot of deep details. Staff is looking at preliminary direction. This is a preliminary report. So if you're wondering, like, where are they going to be located exactly, they don't have the answer to that yet. So just something to be mindful of. Councilor Mullins.
Well, speaking of cost and also some of the benefits, and just to highlight it, I know you did mention in your presentation that this also will be available for nonprofit organizations and to our city services. Could you give us maybe an example or somebody from, I know you have this all packed down.
They know way more than I do.
Can you give us some of the examples to how is it going to benefit the nonprofit organizations, and also how would also benefit the city to some of our programs and some of our events that we have, and would that be at cost to us or to the nonprofit? if you can share that information.
Yeah, a lot of that will be determined when we get down to contract negotiations, but there will be a percentage of screen time on the kiosk. If you saw the demonstration unit downstairs, you see where there's kind of a scrolling, display on the kiosk. So there is a percentage that we will negotiate with the vendor during the contract of screen time that will be allocated for city purposes. In addition to that, any sold advertising space, they would potentially allocate back to the city as well. So with that space, working with the city, we would decide what kind of content that we would like to display. So we could potentially, if you saw the demo unit, we've got the 311 app on there. We could advertise that. We could advertise city meetings, community meetings, some of our town hall stuff, such as like what we have coming up with the Central Library project, those types of functionalities, access to our programs such as our housing enforcement unit, our homeless services, access to all of those information we could put on the displays. They could also have QR codes so that you could scan that and it would take you to the city website so you could get additional information. And we could also allocate a lot of that space to our nonprofit partners. So they could advertise their services at no charge to them, advertise programs, events, cultural arts activities that are going on in the city. Where really it's going to be up to the city in conjunction with the vendor to kind of decide how we use that screen time for the greater benefit of the community. So it would probably be a nice balance of kind of city services and announcements and events, as well as kind of ongoing advertisement for our nonprofit partners and community providers.
Thank you for explaining that. And as such, I see their head nodding
Yeah,
as
I
you
said jump
said
up and
everything. I'm sure you covered it. And as such, this would be beneficial for individuals who are visiting our city or in the downtown area or whatever, when we determine where they will be installed, to be really citywide aware of events that will be taking place, what's happening in Burbank, or if they're lost or they need to look up something on the 311 app. And all this, as you indicated, through negotiation will be free of cost to us. So I think it's important that we make the public aware of this because as you stated, maybe some people concerned, are we going to pay? And, do we need to be worried about the cost? So more than anything else, it's beneficial for us to get that free time, if you will, to allow the nonprofit, allow the city to put out some information.
Yeah, it offers a really unique opportunity for us to kind of increase our messaging in different ways than we do right now. A lot of the information right now is if you have to go to the app, or you have to be on social media, or you have to go to websites. So, as we continue to move forward and people receive communication and messaging in different ways, this just gives us another contemporary tool to make sure that we are advertising our city services, our programs, as well as those of our nonprofit partners.
Thank you. My other question, and I know that was the first question I asked when I saw how beautiful it was. I'm like, what if vandalism happened overnight? Or if you can talk a little bit about the actual hardware, if somebody scratches the face of the glass, or somebody takes a rod and throw it at the glass. Can you talk about the hardware itself, and then also how fast would that be repaired?
Yeah, I'm going to defer to our partners from Ike to respond to that. But as I stated, they do have dedicated local maintenance teams. So they hire teams that work in the city of Burbank that go and inspect each unit 5 times per week, once on a weekday, and they guarantee that there will be any repairs done within 24 to 48 hours. But I'll let them expand a little further on the actual technical aspects.
Yeah. Can we take a swing at it? There's not. Okay, never mind.
Please don't. But if you do, it should be okay. And good evening, Mayor and City Council. And thank y'all for having us back. Clay Collette with iSmart City. So the great question comes up a lot. The hardware's super durable. So everything you see that's metal, we can kind of buff out. It's very scratch resistant. Everything that's glass is very durable. It's like a tempered glass. So you probably could take a diamond ring to it and scratch it. It's a really bad use of a diamond ring, but you could do that. We can buff out and repair a lot of that on site. If it were to break, you take a hammer to it. It's going to like spiderweb inside, so you're not going to have glass shattering and have a problem in the right of way. We send teams out 5 days a week, once on a weekend, assess them, make sure everything looks good, clean graffiti, which wipes right off. And then if there is something that needs to be fixed, then we're reporting that into HQ. We're getting, repairs initiated 24 to 48 hours. Most stuff we can fix on site. If we do need to replace, one of the screens, we can do that while you're using the other side. And we have a warehouse in Irvine, so it shouldn't take us long to do that. I think at the end of the day, you just got to have a good ground game. And I would expect if we do move forward, we'd have really strict, obligations in our contract, which we're happy to agree to.
So if you see Councilmember Mullins and Anthony taking a swing later,
I would never do that. He's the one that said it, so I'll be watching for him.
Yeah.
I'm going to take pictures out there.
Fair enough.
Thank you for answering that question.
is that all your questions? Okay, great. Councilor Rosati.
Thank you. Your report was great. It almost left me questionless.
Good. Almost.
Almost. So my only question was the electrification. How would we prep the site? Would they prep the site? Are we saw cutting to get electric there? How is that working?
Riyadh? Yeah, I'll defer to BWP, who's been involved in discussion and review of this project.
Good evening, Riyadh Slayman, AGM, Chief AGM, Burbank Water and Power. These units require very little power, so the actual construction would be done by the contractor, but it would be done in coordination with BWP. Would have, just like any other service, would give them a confirmation of service where the power is coming from, where it's going. They'll be able to construct all of that, and in the end, we'd pull the power to it.
We would pull the power.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
No other questions? Man, so close. All right, Vice Mayor Takahashi.
Yeah, I have a few questions. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you for the thoroughness. Thank you for Ike folks for being here tonight to answer any questions. My first question may be for the Ike folks. You mentioned about the removal of graffiti and taking care of it. And it sounds like they're pretty resilient machines. How do they do in extreme storms, extreme heat? And then also, we could get quite a bit of dust here and dirt. So how often is it cleaned to remove that?
Great question. So we're UL rated, and we've, at this point, we're in 25 cities now, and we'll be in 5 more next year. And we survived the hurricanes in Miami, heat in Tempe. We have a lot of coastal cities, so salt getting into the air, humidity, all that kind of stuff. We're in Minneapolis, so when it, in the snow as well. So we last all of that without issue. Cleaning happens 5 days a week, once on a weekend, and that's our team going out first thing in the morning, completely cleaning everything, and then reporting it back to us. And so we have, I would say 99% of the time, if there is graffiti, if there is, I think we had toothpaste on a unit in Oakland last week, we're the first ones to know. And we can get out there and clean it before any of our city, any of our city partners or anybody else sees it. So that's, we just stay on it.
Okay, great. That's great to hear. Thank you. My second question is about the content that's displayed on the machine. And we've a number of concerns we had emailed to us about advertisements. So the ads that will, because it looks like the kiosks be mostly on sidewalk that's near a street, right? So will the ads be visible by cars that are driving by? Are they big enough to be able to be clearly seen? Not something you have to look to see, or they're not going to be distracting by drawing attention. There's a natural kind of advertisement that you see driving by.
Yeah, you'll see in some of the photos that are included in the presentation that they are a lot of times adjacent to roadways, so advertising is visible if you were driving by in a vehicle.
Okay. And then for the ads that are shown, are they still ads? Are they video? Do they have audio?
There is no audio. Okay. And most of the ads are just static images. We do allow for video in almost all of our cities, and I think that's a benefit, obviously, for the revenue model. It allows for more creativity. I mean, that's where advertiser demand is going, to have those kind of images. It also allows for really cool city and arts content as well. So I think now, most of the time, because we're only 12 square feet large, a static ad is something that's more reliably seen. A Nike swoosh, you're not going to miss that if it's just a static image. And so not everybody opts to do that kind of content, but we do think that it adds value to the program.
Okay. And the reason why I ask, if it's okay, is because when you're driving, if there's a still ad, and maybe this is something that you've seen in other cities that you've installed them, when you're driving and you see a still ad, it's just kind of in your periphery, you look at it, it's fine. But if there's movement going on in a video and you're driving and you're going to want to look at the video and try to see what's going on. And have you had any kind of concerns or questions from the community about distracted driving with videos being
Certainly questions, and it's a fair question. We've never seen any sort of rise in traffic incidents relative to an iKiosk, and we've had units in the ground in Denver for 8 years now. We've never seen any sort of issue in kiosks leading to a distracted environment. We are smaller. We're on interior streets in the core downtown. We're not on the freeway. We're not where you're going 40 miles an hour. We're 25, 30 miles an hour where there's a lot of pedestrian activity. So I think when you're driving, you're driving in a situation where pedestrians are nearby and you sort of need to be alert. And we're in those contexts too. So it's not something that we've ever seen, but we're happy to, engage with staff on that and discuss operational rules if we need to.
Yeah.
And Vice Mayor, as a follow-up question to that, just in relation, do you have mechanisms to gear the Ikes themselves to pedestrians? Because I'm guessing, and correct me if I'm wrong, the goal is pedestrian-centric, right? Mm-hmm. So are there tools you can utilize to make sure that, for example, San Fernando Boulevard, where you are driving 25 miles an hour, but we still have seen accidents at that speed and distracted driving at that speed, are there mechanisms you can use to gear the kiosks towards pedestrians and not being a distraction to cars?
For sure. If I'm understanding your question, I think there's, we do show a lot of content that invites you to come engage with the kiosk. So we show promotional content of find your restaurant here, find a social service here, click here to, avail yourself of city resources that I think kind of invite you in, free Wi-Fi, things like that. We do have to be oriented that way in the sidewalk physically, but I think that's also a benefit to pedestrians. So when you're using the kiosk, your back is never turned to traffic. You're always safe in your environment there too.
I think you have one more follow-up, but I think before.
Yeah.
Yeah, Councilmember Takahashi, forgive me, Aaron Green with the Africa Consulting Group. One other question about sort of that driver safety component. There are very sort of specific software programs that get implemented to ensure that there's no sort of like strobing effect or flashing effect. In the event that there ever is sort of that motion in advertising or in the art or in the public, the public noticing, that is not part of that component. So you don't have that type of scenario, which is, I think, kind of the direction that you were going.
Yep.
Thank you.
And thank you for answering that question, because I think, if I'm not wrong, there is a dimming mechanism on there too that is not glaring.
Exactly. So
Okay.
the way the glass and the LED work, they're anti-glare, so it won't reflect anything back at you. And when it comes to brightness, so it operates kind of like your phone does, where when the unit's in direct sunlight, it has an ambient sensor that will get a little bit brighter, never brighter than daylight context. And then at night, when it doesn't need to be as bright, it will actually dim itself. In addition to that, we have sort of fail-safes. We can manually dim it. And I think the ordinance that staff has put together is really thoughtful and kind of sets the boundaries of how bright things can be with foot candles and nits and how you measure these things. We would fall well within those standards and always be comfortable.
Great. You follow up? Okay.
No, back to you.
Great, thank you. A couple more questions, Madam Mayor, if that's okay. Still on the topic of advertisements, so a certain percentage of the display will be for ads, dedicated to ads. And will there be a mechanism or a way that smaller companies and local businesses can have ads? Because these kinds of ads can be pretty pricey. And so I'm wondering if there is a way potentially to have a portion of it for our smaller businesses.
Yes, absolutely. So there's kind of two things that we typically do with small business. We will discount. The passive mode loop is sort of the main advertising functionality, and we'll discount that for local businesses. So if you're headquartered here in Burbank, maybe not local McDonald's, but if you're headquartered here, then we're happy to work with you and we'll give you a discount. In addition to that, all of our directories, once you use the interactive mode, all of that's based on proximity or is curated in partnership with the city to promote whatever it finds most attractive and wants to put on display. All of that's free. So just by proximity of being near City Hall, Broken Egg Cafe is getting free marketing, right? And so all of our local partners benefit in that way too.
Okay, and sorry, one last question about ads, because I got a lot of questions about it. So is it the Ike who chooses who? You said who chooses the ads that go through? I'm sorry,
We do. So we manage everything in-house. So all of the ads are placed through our in-house sales team.
Okay. So then when you request for advertisers, is there a limit to just advertisements from businesses that are in Burbank? Or do you also accept advertisements for things that are like larger scale, say like, Visa or like that kind of thing? That's more like a bigger generic ad, or do you keep it local?
It is open market, and most of our customers are larger companies, and they're the ones that are paying the top dollar for premium advertising. In LA, we do have inventory here, and I would expect Burbank, our top customers would be the movie studios, streamers, a lot to talk about in that vein, fashion, entertainment, it's all that kind of stuff.
Okay. Just general reflection, I would really like to see as much as possible dedicated to our local businesses. Yeah, great. And then I have one and a half more questions. So then I'll be done. It was mentioned earlier about the 311 app being on the kiosk. Is it just mentioning the 311 app exists and then you have to do it on your phone, or does the 311 actually function on the kiosk itself that you can do all the requests?
So it's set up as one of the applications on the kiosk program. So you hit the button, it says the icon that we're all familiar with, the our Burbank 311. It pops up and it basically tells you the functionality, and there's a QR code that then takes you to the Burbank 311 app. And then we could also do other advertising if we wanted to as part of the city contact to promote, downloading the app and participating in the program. But it doesn't allow you to actually submit service requests through the kiosk.
That was going to be my half question, to see if you could submit a request for graffiti on the machine with the machine.
Not yet, but we will work with the vendor to continue to develop that technology.
Right.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
I think I have a quick follow-up.
Yes,
and then I'll go to
as a
Councilmember.
follow-up on the 311 app, would it be possible to at least have a list of all the departments and the phone numbers listed on there? So for quick reference, if somebody needs to call the police department or Parks and Recreation, they can do that?
Yeah, absolutely. We can include that as part of the city content.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Anthony.
So there's two parts. One, I want to talk to the Ike folks first. You mentioned when I went down there and tested it out that it's a hotspot capability. Now that's a separate cell service that you guys run and do all that stuff. We here in the city have a fiber optic network, and we actually have some free Wi-Fi at some of our parks and facilities. Is it possible, and do you have this maybe in other cities, where you've adapted your kiosks to connect to the local municipal internet, and that you can offer that Wi-Fi? Is that even feasible? Is that something you've looked into, or?
We've looked at using fiber before. I don't think we've ever executed on it. It's been more of a locational challenge of just where the fiber is and access and coordinating that with electrical. The way that we typically run is we have our own cellular network, and then we offer that as sort of a hotspot out. We'd be happy to look at that, and if it makes sense for Burbank, we could.
Okay, well then let me ask staff. I know we've talked a little bit over the years about getting more and more Wi-Fi, free Wi-Fi out to our customers using our network. Is this even a possibility of adding the kiosks in at a future point to offer that? Is that even something we've looked at, or we're not really?
We haven't looked at it at this point. It'd be something that we could consider when we get into contract negotiations and implementation.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Other questions? No? Okay.
Can I add, Mayor, if you don't mind, just for the members of the public, the kiosk will remain downstairs throughout the evening for demonstration purposes. So even after the study session's over, as regular meeting begins, it'll be down there. The Ike representatives will be available if you have any questions or want to see what the functionality of the kiosk is. Thank you.
Thank you. I just had questions on light pollution, the type of advertising content, and the same question about the kiosk facing drivers and then what that would look like. All of my questions were answered, but I think you can get a sense from the council that most of us had questions about that driver component. So I do think it's something for discussion when the agenda item comes up.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. If there are no further questions, that is the end of our study session. Folks are invited to stay for our meeting that will begin at 6 p.m. in about 10 minutes. So we'll see you then. Thank you.